So yes, I think today is definitely not, we've all heard about AI, there's definitely a prevalent place in the industry for this. However, just quick introduction to Mimecast. Mimecast has been known for many, many years as an email security and a cloud governance and archiving platform. However, we've evolved over many, many years and proudly found as a South African business in 2003, we've evolved to 13 offices globally. We process more than 1.8 billion emails a day. So the threat intelligence we're getting and working with other ecosystem partners has really become extremely important. It's an ecosystem, but when we start looking at it, every 39 seconds that's known, there's a data breach globally. Now, 39 seconds is not a lot of time. The problem businesses are facing is these attacks are becoming more sophisticated. Attackers are using typical AI tools that can be purchased on the dark web, such as FraudGPT. I'm not endorsing these platforms, please. But attackers are selling this on the dark web. But the problem is, and once again, there's different reports, between 89 and 91% of these breaches involve human error. All it takes, and we've all seen that in the media, is one click on a suspicious email or an insider sharing sensitive info to untrusted external destinations. So it's become a massive challenge for businesses. Now, we've all seen headline news. These attacks are becoming more sophisticated, as we can see in the previous sessions, around AI-generated attacks. Gone are the days where we could pick up there were some misspellings on emails, it's a phishing attack. They are now using different techniques to move to different communication channels that are untrusted. I think all of us here communicate with colleagues over WhatsApp. Attackers are doing the same. Why? Because you cannot control what's sent over those unsanctioned platforms. And with that, it really comes down to people make honest mistakes. The perception is people make mistakes intentionally. I think we're all human. We've all made mistakes somewhere in the past. But people make honest mistakes. They make wrong choices. Under work pressure, deadlines, they need to get their job done. There could be controls in place, or there's an outage. They use different cloud platforms to exfiltrate data to get the job done. And the biggest challenge is security teams. They don't have visibility. They're facing challenges to actually identify who's risky, because it's not a one-size-fits-all any longer. And as we go through this, what's interesting is based on our intel that most of the customers we work with, and with Scienta, is around 80% of these data breaches is due to those 8% of employees that are making mistakes, those wrong decisions. Important is, how do we actually understand? So years ago, you had awareness training where you test people, and the perception here, as an example, John on the left, he's not a risky employee. He completes his training, he reports phishing mails, he's a safe employee. But Ben on the other side, he doesn't complete his awareness training, he doesn't report these phishing simulation emails, so he's deemed, the perception is he's a risky employee. But in reality, if we look at it, based on behavior in the real world, in the daily operational functions, Ben is not a risky employee. Now, how do we know this? There's no visibility. So to be able to understand what your risk is, you need to be able to measure your risk firstly. We start off by understanding the actions these employees are taking. Are they clicking on bad links, as an example? Are they sharing sensitive data with their exfiltrating to their personal Microsoft OneDrive, whatever that is, cloud storage? What type of attacks are targeting them? Because the attacks they're getting targeted with is beyond their control. But to understand when they are being targeted, you've got the ability to start understanding what the individualized risk is of that employee. And of course, the access. Why are people being targeted? Attackers still target networks and infrastructure, but they target the human element because you've got access to sensitive data. Financial teams access financial data, and C-level executives, we've all seen this, have got the authority to approve payments. So it's really those three elements. Now, what if you had the ability to understand each individual risk around each employee based on their actions, the behavior, and the choices they make. We do this through 3 different elements: measure, empower, and then protect. So just to start off, to measure, we integrate into the multiple different platforms to actually understand where employees are performing their work functions, what are they doing, and the platform gives you visibility around, the risk analysis. And the risk will dynamically increases if I violate a policy, or if I'm one of those click happy users. Take away my laptop, give me a pen and notepad. Second is to empower. So as I mentioned, years ago it was awareness training, you train everyone, rinse and repeat, one size fits all. If I'm not making any mistakes, if I don't click on links, why train me? If I make a wrong decision, I'm sharing sensitive data through an unsanctioned destination platform. At that point in time, coach me through behavioral nudges. Tell me, Johan, you violated a policy, because if you train me 30 days later, I'm going to forget what I did in the past. So at the point of risk, it's a risk-based approach to educate people to change it more to a secure behavior. And then, of course, protection. Now, I think we've seen in the previous sessions, all comes down to detect and protect. With the protection, it gives you that ability, whether it's insider risk, etc., to apply adaptive security policies and automate it as someone's risk increases, revoke their access to sensitive data, or isolate their device on whatever EDR platform you're using. And once their behavior changes and their risk posture decreases, enable that access again, or reduce the security controls to those risk individuals. Now, most businesses have invested into best-of-breed technologies, whether it's these devices we all work on a daily basis. We all log in, you've got multi-factor. Right at the end is where the Mimecast Human Risk Management sits to wrap all these investments you've made already in your business to bring it together as we integrate with those technologies you're already using in your business. So no additional cost, because cost is a massive thing. It's your data, you've invested into best of breed. Bring that telemetry in, that you get a clear vision and visibility, who's risky, why they're risky, that you can apply interventions to change security behavior within the business. Just in closing, as you can see on the left-hand side, it works around the risk data sources. So whether you're using cloud applications, cloud security, EDR platforms, it feeds into the platform. You start understanding that individualized risk score, and now that you've got the measurements in place, you can start aligning your strategy. What are the controls? Are you going to apply zero trust? Or more aggressive controls, revoke all access? A lot of businesses are doing it, but I think it comes down to what the governance policies are in your business. And I think one thing there's a big misconception is where, that's all hackers, these malicious actors are hacking in. The perception is they are still targeting infrastructure, cloud services. However, because I've clicked on a link, I've entered my credentials, my account's been compromised, they get into environments because I gave them that password. So the human behavior, human risk is, we see it as Mimecast as one of the most important elements as part of the closing up that gap around the security posture. Ladies and gents, that's the Human Risk Management Platform. Just in closing, you can scan this QR code. I promise you it's a safe one. We're proud to announce we've released our State of Human Risk Security Report. 2,500 executives globally have been interviewed, the key decision makers, to actually understand what their perception of risk is. Something that's quite interesting is around 96% of them actually acknowledge it is a problem, there is a gap, they don't have that visibility, because that's why they could never act on it. So please feel free to go download the report, and if you've got any questions, come see us at the stand there in the corner at the Mimecast stand, and I thank you.